himself that's going to really talk about, 10 skills and remedies and essentials that he put together to get his book out, Effective Mentoring. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, Bill. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Before I talk about the book, I actually want to just give you an appreciation show, just because 2019, you and I scheduled a meeting with you, and I said I want to just pick your brain about what you did to write your book, and you basically shared your experience, gave me some insight of some sources to go after, and what I left from that meeting with you is, no matter how your growth in life, you're still approachable, you're still genuine, and you're basically pouring into other people. And so I took what you poured into me, went home, did my research, and then off I went. And so I just wanted to give a small token
Thank you
of
so much. I really
my appreciation to you for all the great things that you do for so many people in this community.
Thank you.
And so this is a gift to you.
Nice.
So,
let's see your audience. Oh, thank you, Robert. Isn't that nice? That is a picture that me and you took on that day.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you. That will go right in my office with everybody else's. Thank you so much. So the people who's listening online on the terrestrial dial, go on Facebook Live and you'll be able to see the picture that Robert gave to me. He got an initial with my name and everything on there. Thank you for your outstanding leadership and friendship. May God bless you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, let's dive right into your book. As I was reading your book, I understood, when you were growing up, you needed a mentor, because your dad was hardworking, your mom was hardworking, but then your dad decided he moved to Atlanta. So that was a lot of distance away from Buffalo, New York. You only seen him on holidays or weekends. So that left just your mom, and missing that father in that household.
It's critical.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this, is that this journey of writing this book was just like, I had to reflect back on my childhood. And the perspective I actually had starting this book was, I didn't have people in my life that poured into me. And so I went into this perspective of writing this book to say, okay, what's the purpose or reason of why I was mentoring so many young people over my life? And as I reflect back on my childhood, I started seeing people who maybe not in a formal way or intentionally poured into my life, but unintentionally. And that was mentoring itself. So it started with my 4th grade teacher, who I witnessed her being loving, caring, and basically took this quiet young boy in class and said, hey, I want you to help me do this. I want you to help this. And so she seen something to me that I didn't see in myself. So that pouring into, as I started reflecting on the writing of this, or my childhood, is those little pieces. In part of my book, I talk about this guidance counselor in 10th grade. I was at a point in my life where in 9th grade, 96 or 65 grade average, didn't have no desire to go to college. And he offered to take me, he basically said, I want you to go to this historical black college fair.
Yep.
And it was in Buffalo. I'm from Niagara Falls. And so I was like, I don't want to go to this. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to try to go. And so I went. And believe it or not, it was the first time I seen people that looked like me talking about college and their dreams and goals. And I remember going on that bus ride home and just like, wow, it just opened up my eyes and my opportunities of what's available to me. And what I've learned through my experience of working at Boys and Girls Club and other nonprofits is the little things that we think we take for granted sometimes. A lot of our young people are limited to, what they see, their environment. Some of our kids that I worked with never left their neighborhood. And those small little tasks of saying, okay, let's take you to a college fair, opened up my eyes. And so that day kind of said, okay, college is for me, opportunities is for me. So when I reflected back on this book, was I did have individuals that poured into me, that just took the opportunity to say, hey, this is available to you. And that was a life-changing process in this journey of writing.
No, I want you, we're going to get into the skills and the remedies that you have, took time to pen in your book, but I want to talk about when your mother called and said, look, we got to go see, your grandmother. And then after she passed away, that made you bitter, that made you pull away from church. I want to talk to a small kid that's so close with their grandparents. And then when they lose them, then for them not to go down that road to do stuff and pull away from God and think God did something bad. What were you feeling at that time to make you, because for 10 years, you pulled away.
Absolutely. I was questioning God because my grandmother introduced me to God. She brought me to church, and I was learning church, and I started understanding the Bible. And for the first time, like, I had someone who my grandmother was like the rock. She was a sense of humor, her spiritual grounding, and so forth. And I would watch her pray and everything else. And so, why would God take that from me? And so I kind of held that, like, and I would also say is that I didn't have anyone to explain, like, what happened. What do you do when the person that you connected with is no longer there? And so we go through this grieving process, but how do we talk about it? And what are the parts that we need to move on to really heal? And I didn't really have that. And so I had that chip on my shoulder towards God, like, okay, like, why would you do this? And so I closed down, mentally, spiritually. And I would say it was a pull in my heart as I was going through life in college. There was something missing. Like, you always know, like, when you going through life, this journey, you feel like there's something missing. And I remember being in this club, and this was just like an out-of-body experience. As I was sitting in the club, and everyone was drinking around everything, and I was just like, this wasn't the place I needed to be. It was just something like, this is not your purpose. And so that was kind of like what drew me back to the church. And I always have this funny story is that I was watching BET. I was not doing the right things in the right mindset at the time. I was watching BET, and there was this commercial about True Bethel, and it was Pastor Darius Pridgeon was like, "Come as you are," and I was watching BET. I was watching music, whatever, and so that kind of connected. Like, what kind of church would say, like, "Come as you are," and it was speaking my language at the time of where I was in my mindset, and so that very Sunday I went to church, and I haven't left since. And that was just those little things that you just like. You got to meet people where they are.
Meet them where they are.
That was such a tremendous change in my life.
And I like what you said. The commercial wasn't doing a gospel set. It was right in the middle of BET. Like, I'm gonna catch you and meet you right where you are.
Exactly.
And he got you, and you've been there ever since. And now you're a big part of True Bethel. I mean, huge part, So, well, look, let's talk about in your book you talk about care, love, compassion, leadership, patience, and guidance. Yes. We know on the show today we're not going to be able to do all three, but let's take the top three. Mm-hmm. Let's take three of them out of the 6 that you have here, and then you got 10 essential that you deal with successfully in your mentoring book. Let's take 3 of them.
We'll talk about love. I'll start back like my first year working at Boys and Girls Club. I was counseling with a young person who shared with me that they carried a gun to the club every single day. And I was like, wow.
Was this at Buffalo United Child where my kids was there?
No, it wasn't at Buffalo United. Nope. So he told me that he carried this gun, and so he stopped showing at the club for about 3 days. And so I was a little worried. I was like, okay, maybe I need to call, but I got so many other things on my plate. And so somebody said, stop by his house. And so I stopped by his house. His mom let me in, and I got a chance to talk to him. But a few days later, we talked a little bit more on what was going on in his life, and he shared with me like when his mom would get drunk on nights and he didn't come home on time, he would have to sleep on the porch. And so because he had to sleep on the porch, that means he didn't go to school the next day. He didn't get to eat breakfast. So it was like this trickle down effect, and so that made the realness of my work become more than a job. That was just like the life-changing. And what I found in that moment is the love that you have for individuals and people. And that because I was able to, over my career at Boys and Girls Club, oversee multiple programs, that there was also these cookie-cutter programs and these federal programs as well that says, okay, you meet with the kid, meet them once a week, you do this paperwork, and now they're supposed to be fixed. But you got to have the love for it. So I've seen people get into the business of mentoring and not really have that love and genuine respect, because it's about relationships. So you and I have a rapport,
That's right.
and it becomes genuine. We don't have a little check mark and say, yeah, Sheila came here today and did this, but do we have love for each other in the sense that I have the best interest for you, and I want to see you find your purpose and your potential in life. And so you need that in order to be an effective mentor. You got to have love for other people. And that's the first thing. And then the second thing was the compassion. From that experience, I had to see outside of where I was, because I was so caught up in my day-to-day life, is that seeing that child's life helped me really work with my other staff and other kids that I'm working with and families to see from their perspective. Like, you don't know what that kid had to do just to get to your program.
Yeah.
And so, and that takes it even to school. So you got these kids taking tests, you want to make sure they pass, and now you wonder why, Johnny's acting out. Well, maybe he didn't even get to eat today. Maybe his mother is alcoholic. How do he deal with that? How do he function? And so you just want him to behave for your class. So it gave me a different outlook of how to work with young people and see and listen. One of the things I talk in the book is about listening. That one is, as a mentor, I don't have all the answers, and then being genuine of who you are is it's an important piece. And then, so I've also added the care piece.
Yeah.
There's so many things going on in our community. We see it right now. Gun violence is up and everywhere we are. And having true, genuine care for other people is, even when young people mess up. I have a young person that's 33 years old, serving 10 years in jail for a mistake that he did when he was 16. And he followed all the right steps. And when he messed up, I had to be there. I had to show up in court. He still communicates with me through, being incarcerated. And being a support system is so critical, because are you going to just get the chosen ones and care when it benefits you? But when you're going through this life journey of working with individuals, you got to be in it for longevity of that young person. And so it is a life rewarding journey for me, because I think that I learn more about who I am too. So it helps me step my game up to who I am, because my purpose is just beyond myself. And so my conversations that I'm having with my mentees throughout almost 20 years is watching them have kids and watching them grow, and learning that I always had this mindset of being a perfectionist, which is like one of my flaws. But learning that as I become vulnerable to them and allow them to see who I am and grow, they grow as well. And so I think that's the package of being an effective mentor. Is having the love, having the compassion, having the care, and being able to guide. You got to be in the driver's seat. So we have a lot of adults who are mentors, who may not give the best guidance and may not be in it for the long run. And so we want to see immediate change.
Yeah.
And it's just like if you have children, that you can give them all the guidance and your advice, but they're going to make their own decisions. You just got to be there to support them in their journey.
This show has went so quick. I got so much more to ask you. I have to bring you on for a second half, because I really want to talk about the pitfalls to avoid and challenges to overcome. I really want to talk about that. We do got to get ready for Chubb Rock, but I want you to let the audience know what is next for you. What is a mentor? Because everybody's like, oh, can you mentor me? But how do you decide who you're going to mentor? So we're going to do a second part of this next Monday.
Okay.
We'll do
Great.
Atlanta Buffalo connection. So
Awesome.
You'll be here. I'll be in Atlanta. We're going to do the second part of this, so we can ask the rest of these questions I have. Because so many people looking for people to mentor them, but how do you even get started, right? So what's next?
So what's next is we're planning next month is we have a value of mentorship panel discussions that are virtual. And so I have an expert of community advocates for young people who do this work day out and day in. So it's going to be August 10th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. There'll be more information. I'll share this with you. But it's really just having a conversation with community leaders, and I also have young people talking about what current things that they're facing right now, especially coming from COVID. How do we prepare our young people to get back in their own schools? And really some of our solutions to a lot of things that we have going on in our community is mentoring. Having someone who is going to kind of show you different possibilities and opportunities.
That's good. That's good. Well, next week, I say to my audience, thank you so much for listening to my guest. You know, Robert, it has been nothing but a joy to see someone. I have so many people come talk to me about writing a book. How did you do it? This, but for you to see it, you take the information and actually do it. Kudos to you. And the book is well done. So, you know, Chuck Rock is up next. It's the top of the week. He is ready to come with the music. He's ready to come with the information. So we're going to move out the way. We're going to let Chuck Rock come on in. But I'll see you guys next week. I'll have Robert back in the seat so we can talk about more on mentoring. There's so many more questions I want to ask, and there's so many more I want him to answer. So until next week, I ask you to stay in God's hands. Okay? Perfect. Yes. So we'll come back next week. And because I really want to talk about the pitfalls of it. You know, I want to talk about how do you become